Right, well, we are back. We are back. Good evening. And joining me on the line, very pleased to talk with Kim Odering, who's very kindly agreed to do a segment in the garden with us. So we're going to be having a look at activity throughout the year and what you should be doing in your garden. What's been happening in your garden, Kim?
Well, not a lot, because I've started a new business in landscaping, Nick, and so that's keeping me pretty busy. And in the last 7 years, I've been out on Old Taitapu Road helping care for my parents as well, so it's a bit of a juggling act. And because we live with a lot of trees, there hasn't been a lot of sun that isn't where the trees are. It's close to the house, so where the trees aren't, it's further away, so there's not a lot of sun to put in my veggie crops and what have you. But I'm doing there's a big courtyard here, and I've put in a lot of pots, and I'm a bit of a pot queen, and I've got Japanese maples and pines that have been in pots for about 10 years. So but my veggie garden when I was in Stourbridge Street was an excellent veggie garden that rotated all year round.
Did you live very near the shop there on Stourbridge Street?
Well, the whole family lived around the nursery when it was smaller, when there were the 5 kids and mum and dad, and we worked pretty much 6 days a week. I made sure I got time off for skiing, though, Nick. I had to do that.
So before we get our hands dirty, let's just talk about your new business. Is it landscaping?
It is landscaping. After leaving Odering's Nurseries 17 years ago now, I actually bought a DVD shop and knew and that was wonderful. I watched every movie I'd never watched or had time to watch, as well as served lots of customers and helped them watch good movies. And then when that, as the DV industry was ultimately going to do, fell through, I went, well, what shall I do now? And of course, the obvious is to go back to what I know. We don't want to reinvent the wheel much. And that's what I did. And this time, instead of going into the retail side of things, I went into the other side of things, which is the landscaping. And through my extensive knowledge, because I'd always kept my hands in it, like in the garden, it's a real joy of mine. It gives me peace. Even weeding gives me peace. It's almost a form of meditation. And so my husband and I started up a landscaping business called Co & Co, which stands for Kim Odering and Company. And, but it's a hard slog building a new business, but we're getting there. Got lots of clients, and I like to give them what they want.
What's the balance like between your corporate clients and private ones?
Well, the business is relatively new, but the balance is quite good. We're doing a big project on Deans Avenue and Eyre Street, Hagley Mews, and we've got a number of small gardens that we're doing, and I particularly like refurbishing older gardens because they need, again, now a bit more structure and what have you, and and I love to see the client really happy. I kind of think we spend thousands of dollars to go away, and we go to places with beautiful gardens, warmer weather generally as well, but also why not have that at home? That's what I was thinking. Why can't we actually just enjoy sitting and looking out our own windows? And you don't have to have a terribly big space to do that either.
Well, we do we do enjoy a very good climate in New Zealand, but of course it's changing, isn't it?
Well, this year it is. It is, I was at a restaurant the other day, and there was a Capinus hedge, which is the English hornbeam. And they plant that. It's actually quite a substantial English a tree, an English, they call it an English tree, a park tree, but they plant them in hedges, and it was budding up. Had leaves on it, and I was like, uh-oh. And some of the blossoms are in flower, and I think, we've still got August to come yet, and we often get some very nasty sou'west changes in August, and daffodils are coming well out of the soil now as well. And
so if you have a plant goes into premature bud, and then we have these severe frosts and snow or whatever, what happens to the plant?
Well, it's not great for them. the frost will take out quite a bit of the blossom. And it's hard to know exactly how damaged the plant is going to be. There's other factors that come into play. The frost normally comes in on a southwesterly sort of angle at about I think it's about a 15 degree angle. So some of the tree will be hit pretty hard. One side of the tree may be hit very hard, the other may not be hit quite so hard. You might have other leafy things around it, and as an evergreens that protect it a bit. So, but it's not great for any fruiting tree, which, by the way, are all coming into the garden centres now. So I advise people to get down if they want their pick, because things sell out pretty fast as far as the fruit trees go. Berries as well. Great time for planting berries.
This is one of the things we're thinking, that as the weeks go past, you'll be able to tell us kind of what we should be thinking about maybe over the next weekend or so that we can get into the garden centres and get good bargains too. It's not even so much about the bargains. I'm not sure that they've had their sales. They usually all have their sales around Easter time. But it is about getting the varieties that you wish to get. And to do that, I mean, ask Uncle Google. What do they call it? Mr. Google. There's quite a lot of research can be done. We're living in an unprecedented age of technology, aren't we? So, like, Google will tell you lots of things about different varieties of apples, and I suggest people actually, if they're interested in growing fruit trees, go for a wee search. Otherwise, they're welcome to ask their garden centres, the staff at the garden centres, but you'll have to find a more experienced garden centre staff member who's had a number of years in there to know which varieties are the best and which you all sell the best. Just as a matter of interest, have you been for a walk around the red zone at all, through all the old gardens which are still there?
I've actually just completed a garden that backed onto the red zone not so long ago. And the red zone it's strange. The city's strange now. But you can see where all the gardens have been, and there's the odd fence here and there. Yes, I've had a look at it. Yes.
A topical thing to talk about is pruning and roses this time of year. Is it too late? And if you prune now, do you have to sort of cover the wound where you've cut it with some kind of compound?
All right. So this is a bit of a thing of mine. I think that roses are getting a bit of a bad rap as far as being hard to grow, and I don't find them hard to grow at all. Now, certainly, how well a rose grows depends on your season as well. So, like, for instance, last year we had like two odd months straight of rain, and that was in the spring, and that was really no good for the roses because they'll contract black spot, and that weakens the health of the plant. However, in a normal growing season, where there's not 2 months of rain, I would recommend, like right now, and if we're talking about Auckland, they're 6 weeks ahead of us. But Waikato would get, quite severe frosts. They can get quite severe frosts. So depending on where exactly you are, this changes. But here in Christchurch, what I would do with my roses right now is, although this winter's been so mild, I was thinking about it today, I'm going to prune them back hard now. Of course, the sooner you prune back your roses, is that will then depend. If you prune them back earlier, you'll get an earlier flowering. And then once they have their first flush, then you'll cut them back again. And that's about all I do for my roses, because honestly, Nick, I don't have a lot of time to spend, like most people, taking care of things. So the most I would probably do is dip my secateurs in some disinfectant with water before I make cuts into, because you get dieback on roses. Okay, so you see those dead bits that are on roses sometimes?
Yep.
They're just like a stem and it's dyed back. Well, that's a dieback. It's a disease. So if you dip your secateurs into, you just have a ice cream container with a bit of disinfectant in there, and you just dip your secateurs in there before you make your cuts. That's good enough. But now in Christchurch, with this winter the way it is, I would actually cut them back hard. Whereas normally I might wait till about beginning of August, maybe mid-August, to cut them back hard. And when I say hard, I leave about 5 stems on the rows, and all the cross branches that are growing inwards into the middle of the plant, I'll take out. But that's actually a visual thing, and there's plenty of instruction on that on the internet, or garden centres often have classes on that sort of thing. So I'd advise people to get along to that. But roses don't need a lot of. They're not big trouble as far as I'm concerned. I'm just very practical with people because I know that they're all busy. People are busy.
What we're going to do is, Kim, what we're going to do as the weeks go on is we'll invite listeners or watchers to actually submit questions over the week to us.
Yes, well,
and if we have some, I shall ask you them during our wee transmissions. Hey, we're out of time now, but thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to speaking with you again next week. Okay, lovely. There'll be plenty to talk about as the weeks go on. Cheers, Kim. Thanks very much, Nick. Enjoy the cricket. Bye-bye. Happy gardening, everyone. Bye. Bye-bye. Right, very shortly, I'll just take a short break now, and then I'll be back with Ruth Verco. She's a YouTuber, and she's an expert in growing food cheaply. So the gardening theme continues here on After Dark.